Horses remind me my family a lot. When I ride in horses and brushing and groom horses, I'm feeling so comfortable and so happy.
I think Abdul's one of the most remarkable people I've ever met. If you think of his journey, the things that he's been through, the fact that he's kind of still someone who's so kind and thoughtful and resourceful is pretty amazing, really. He's the most sensitive and lovely soul, but it's very apparent that he's had a complicated past. But he is one of the kindest guys around and will do almost anything for everyone. Abdul's really a victim of circumstance in terms of where he's born. Like where you're born is really luck, and where Abdul was born was one of the unluckiest places possible. They somehow managed to walk to Chad, which would be an incredibly inhospitable journey. It's kind of 40 degrees heat, no water, through desert. They made it to the border. They ended up in a refugee camp there.
Went to refugee camp, so Chad about 1 year and a half. Then I went to Libya. In Libya, about 5 years, like 7 years in Libya, between I can't remember exactly. In Libya, yes, I've had a really bad time. I got very bad experience. Well, so not a very nice place, Libya.
So Abdul crossed into Libya with one of his neighbours. I think the idea was that they would try to get somewhere to live, find work, and then send for his brother and the other neighbour. Initially, they were living as kind of exploited migrant labour. Later on, they managed to get a house together, but it was very, very dangerous. And at a time where black African migrants in Libya were being blamed by both sides for atrocities. So the government would say that they were helping the rebels, and the rebels would say they were agents of the government. So you could be killed at any time just for being a black African migrant. Abdul's rounded up on the streets. He was taken to a prison with lots and lots of different migrants, and there he was very badly tortured, including with electrocution and other terrible, terrible things that you can't imagine happening to a 12-year-old.
6 months at present, I want to enjoy army, Gaddafi army. So I don't want to do that because my family, my parents, they kill them army. So I don't want to do anything, do something wrong.
A doctor at the prison, a Russian doctor who was treating him in the prison hospital, realised that Abdul was going to die. He was very, very, very ill, and smuggled him out in his car.
I went to mosque. Then after some refugees, they taking children and women and some other, they refugee taking out so in Europe. Then I went there. I found someone like Imam Mosque. I spoke to them. He said, "Oh, we can going to a safe place. Follow to me. You can believe me." I said, "I believe you." Then he helped me. So in the Red Cross refugees.
And again, we don't even know what town he came into in France. It was absolute chaos. It was somewhere on the French coast. There were migrants arriving, people were coming up on beaches, nobody knew what was going on. And Abdul and his fellow sailors did what many Muslims would do in that situation, which was to try to find a mosque in the town. When they got there, the mosque was completely overrun. There were people sleeping in it. They were trying to feed lots and lots of Libyans who'd managed to escape from the uprising. And the whole thing just seemed to descend into an absolute level of chaos.
I sleep in a couple days in a garden, in a park, and then really cold frozen. Then I find it black bean rubbish. I all take out, then go in the different bin.
He ended up living in a bin, which in some ways is one, for him, I think, one of the most humiliating aspects of his story. He had become friends with a Tunisian man who used to bring him food, who said that he had sons a similar age to Abdul. And at one point the Tunisian man said, I could get you under a lorry to the UK. When Abdul describes being under the lorry, it's incredibly matter of fact in a way. The guy gave him some gloves, he gave him some chocolate. He put him under the lorry in the early hours of the morning and told him to hold on, and basically said, if you let go, you'll die. So Abdul managed to stay hiding under the vehicle, and the kind of miracle of all of that was that he came out just really near to here, in the middle of horse country, you know, a boy that loved horses. He was found by security guards at a lorry park near Swindon. They turned him over to Swindon police station. At that point, Abdul was terrified because of his experiences with being arrested previously, but found that the English authorities gave him a sandwich and a blanket and called for a social worker, and that, you know, finally, in many ways, he was safe. There's a great myth that life for migrants when they arrive in the UK is very easy. It's actually very, very difficult. There's huge bureaucracy to navigate. You're under constant fear that you might be sent back. There's language difficulties, there's cultural difficulties. I think there's no doubt that Abdul's suffering with PTSD. He's very traumatised. His mental health was in very poor state. It's very difficult for him to trust people. He would say that horses are like family to him, that he feels like when he's touching a horse, he feels like his parents are there. In Darfur, animals are very much part of a family. Abdul was part of a nomadic tribe that moved around, and animals always move with them. And the children in particular look after the animals, so their relationship with animals is very close. And I think it's the nearest that he can feel to the people that he's lost. So the experience that he had at Greatwood reconnected him with horses. It gave him a comfort, I think, some sort of space to recover. I think he was shown a lot of kindness there.
Well, when he arrived, he genuinely couldn't read or write, which sort of right from day one sort of gave us all quite a few problems. He couldn't read which horse he was riding on the board. He could identify his name, but that was about it. But with the help of Philip Brannan, you know, we sorted out some English coaching in the village, and actually my daughter, he used to come in at 6:30 every night, and she was 7 at the time, or 6 at the time, and she was learning to read, so they did it together. And actually that worked really well, and he very quickly came to read what he wanted to read, and he could write what he wanted to write. And we sort of, you know, gradually from then it's got better, but you know, it's still not perfect, but it's a work in progress.
I mean, he's massively grown as a person in the last, you know, just over 3.5 years. As a person, he's, you know, now truly sort of, he's an adult now, and he has established himself within the workplace and within life at Kingsclear. He's very confident. He's tried his best to, you know, get himself involved in things, not always things he likes. He's not a lover of sport, but the boys do drag him out to play football, when he just had his first game of cricket the other day. You know, and he gives it a go, which I think that young scared boy who turned up in the beginning would not have been able to do that.
Abdul's not probably going to be getting a job driving an HGV lorry. He's taken his driving test 16 times and failed. So it's been quite an expensive project. But last week we've got one of our head girls has broken her leg, and so she's got my grandpa's old scooter. And we were all up having a barbecue up in one of the barns with a load of hard standing out there. And we thought, right, this is where we could help Abdul. It's a really simple machine. You just literally with one hand you pull forward to go forward and you push it back to go back. Unfortunately, Abdul still succeeded in crashing the mobility scooter.
Horses is what grounds him in life. It's what makes him calm. He enjoys his work. We all have good days and bad days, and I think you have to remember when you live and work somewhere and socialise with everyone, you know, things can be difficult, but horses are what keeps him mentally sort of at a great level.
Abdul's used horses, as has been very well documented, as a real therapy. And you know, when you're having a bad day and you can go out and give something a kiss and a pat and give it a polo, and it just always looks at you the same, always responds to you the same, I think it's really reassuring. And I think for Abdul that's been really key. And I think Shaden, the filly last year who won a Group 2 in France, that she was particularly special to him, and really, you know, they had a wonderful relationship.
In King Clare, I'm working about 3 years and 8 months. King Clare is trainer, a very good guy. So very good trainer. So every day riding different horses.
The opportunity that Abdul's been given here at Parkhouse Stables is phenomenal, really. It's exactly probably the best scheme that you could devise for somebody who has had Abdul's experiences. He has a lot of routine, he's well fed, he's very safe, there's boundaries, he gets to work with horses, he has a lot of exercise. But I still think that the demons in his head continue to haunt him. The biggest one is the loss of his brother, which is he just lives with all the time, and in some ways I think has come to symbolise the loss of everybody else, his parents and the rest of his family.
I'm looking for my brother Yusuf. When I left Yusuf, he was 4 years old.
Abdul's somebody who can never relax where he is. He can never enjoy even being somewhere as beautiful as here, because he's constantly thinking, my brother might be in Calais, my brother might be in that camp in Chad, my brother might be in Libya. And he can imagine all of the things that Yusuf might be going through.
I still contact refugees and some charities and some Red Cross. I contact with them. So they didn't find exactly where is that Yusuf in the moment. Maybe in Libya, maybe in Kenya, maybe in Chad, maybe in Europe or American Canada or somewhere. I don't know exactly where is he in the moment. But I never give up. I'm still looking for him.